When the night has come
Squeeze right through here.
and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see.
How are you? Are you excited?
Yeah, it's really fantastic.
Excited and nervous.
Beautiful stage.
There's a lot more people here than I thought there'd be.
I'm still excited, so it never ends. So it's a real pleasure to have you both here. And Joe, I would like to address your question at the beginning. So we used to examples like people going from Turkey to US, but you did the exact opposite, and you come to Istanbul and joined WeWalk. So could you please let us know how we first met and how you joined WeWalk team?
Yeah, of course. So, as a foreigner living in Istanbul, I often get asked, what are you doing here? Why are you living here? And after I explain to them, depending on who I'm talking to, the next question is usually followed by, are you crazy? And to answer your question, I love Turkey a lot. I love living here. And no, I'm not crazy. And I know it might be hard to believe coming from a guy that's wearing a baseball cap and sneakers and a big presentation like this. So allow me to establish some credibility first. My first career after university was working for an investment firm. I looked at their IT controls as well as their business continuity plans. Afterwards, I worked for a Fortune 500 company, Mars Incorporated. They're very well known for their confectionery products, so Snickers, Twix, M&Ms. In case any of you are wondering, yes, one of the big benefits was having unlimited access to candy. Anyone that knows me knows Yemim çok çok seviyorum. Evet, evet. Thank you.
This is
He said, I really love
Jay Bira is biliyorum, yeah.
I speak some Turkish.
Incorporated, I was searching for other job opportunities as well. And I should also mention that apart from my career, I was also doing a lot of volunteering activities. I believe in supporting a lot of social impact organizations and giving back to the community. And that's where I came across WeWalk. And I was very intrigued as a tech geek in the technology that they were developing. And I was skeptical at first because, as with all technologies, I mean, sometimes they'll overpromise and underdeliver. But my mind was put at ease after meeting with people from YGA as well as WeWalk. I remember meeting with you, Gökhan. Later
I remember,
on,
Joe, at some point you interviewed us.
yeah.
Instead of us interviewing you.
It was the only interview where I was asked to do a magic trick during an interview and completely failed at it. But
And you joined WeWalk.
yeah, exactly. But after meeting with them, it resonated with me because they shared the same passions that I had. I had always wanted to combine technology with helping others, and YGA has that same type of mentality and same type of mindset. And at that point, I knew I wanted to be part of the organization, and I joined on as a QA specialist. I have very fond memories of walking around Istanbul in the summer heat, testing out our products, and the rest is history from there. Now I'm a growth manager working with wonderful people like John Marc and all of our other team members as well.
We are delighted to have you. Joe.
Right back at you, Joe.
And John Marc, we have been closely working together for over five years now, and we also have a unique meeting story with you in London. So among your multiple options, like in academy or in the business sector, how did you decide to join WeWalk?
So this is actually a funny story, but let me take this all the way back to the beginning. So I was actually born with a visual impairment called LCA. So you're actually born with some amount of sight, but it's a sight that you then lose over time. And so actually, thanks to the support of my family in my early years, I never actually realized that I was visually impaired. And I only really noticed that in my 3rd grade at school. I realized I just couldn't ride as fast as the other kids. I couldn't play sports in the same way. And then I began to realize, wait a second, I actually just can't see as much as everyone else. But because I discovered my visual impairment through this way, because I almost externalized it and was learning about it as I grew up, I formed a fascination for it. And given that my dad was a civil engineer, my grandfather, was a mechanic, I also had a fascination with cars and mobility. And how do you get a visually impaired person from A to B? And so I ended up deciding to pursue engineering. And I traveled to London and started engineering at Imperial College. Now, civil engineering is a very visual task, so I very much so was the odd one out there, and I fondly remember memories of being out on the site, mixing concrete in one hand. I've got the white cane in the other hand. It just didn't look.
Have you used white cane to mix the concrete?
Not yet, but maybe after the show we can do something. We can do something with this. That's a feature that's upcoming soon. But I still really had a passion for it, and I wanted to understand how we can make environments more accessible for people that are visually impaired. And so in my master's year, I actually went to my professor, Professor Arne Bejamdar at the time. And Imperial doesn't let master students choose their own topics. They're set topics usually, and he took a risk. And I told him, look, I really want to do a project featuring visually impaired people and understanding their movement. He took me on. And we actually did some very interesting research investigating how changing light levels affect the mobility of people on a train station, even if they're blind. It really was a fascinating piece of research. Imperial thought so too, and they offered me a PhD position. Now, right at the beginning of the PhD, myself and my team were invited to a hackathon run by Transport for London, our transport provider. And we were doing some research online, and we came across something called WeWalk Smart Cane at WeWork. Now, WeWork is an office letting company. It's got nothing to do with WeWalk. But I didn't know that, of course. And so I called WeWork. I was super excited, as you can imagine. I was telling them, hey guys, I've done all this, and let's do something together. And after 15 minutes, the receptionist on the phone was like, you want to buy office space? Like, what exactly do you want?
No, I remember that they warned me to discriminate between the WeWalk and WeWork afterwards.
Yeah, and that's when we realized we might have trademark issues, but no. But I met with Gökhan on that day. He was very receptive to us having a meeting. We realized our vision was really well aligned, and I took back home a very early prototype. We took it to the hackathon. We won the hackathon, but I actually accidentally ended up stepping on the box and damaging it. And so I guess I was in debt and ended up working for WeWalk for 5 years. So there's the story.
Yeah, it was the only bug, so he's still in debt.
Yeah, 5 more years.
Great, thanks, Jean-Marc. And Joe, you are in contact as a part of your responsibility with hundreds of users and institutions globally. So what excites our community most about WeWalk's future?
Yeah, I think the thing that excites our community and excites me personally is just our focus on evolving our technologies. So we're fortunate enough to have support from wonderful organizations such as Royal National Institute for the Blind, as well as Canadian National Institute for the Blind as well, the 2 major blind organizations in the UK and Canada. And in addition to that as well, we have great support here locally in Turkey from our partners Abdi Ibrahim, and we're working with ophthalmologists as well as their clients in order to reach more visually impaired people here in Turkey.
Yeah. And I would like to thank Süha abi. He is also with us today because he has been a genuine supporter of WeWalk in our journey. So thank you very much, Süha abi.
Evet, çok teşekkürler. And another one of our key partners that's allowed us to advance our technology is Microsoft. So we were accepted in Microsoft's AI for Accessibility program, and through that program, we're developing a new technology called AI Mobility, or AIM for short. So what AI Mobility will allow us to do is use the WeWalk's inbuilt sensors, the gyroscope, the accelerometer, the compass, in order to be able to track key data from a visually impaired student. So for example, if an instructor wants to capture data such as cane angles, cane swipes, walking speed, confidence levels, all of this data will be fed directly to them through a dashboard, and then what they'll be able to do later on is interpret this data to make sure that they're correctly using their white cane. And what's great about that is, again, it's just going to be a complete game changer. We've started sharing this information with blind organizations across the globe, and the feedback has been overwhelming. I mean, Jean-Marc, Gökhan, you guys have been in those meetings as well. And one of the instructors that we had shared with, he was so excited that immediately after our meeting, he shared it with his family members. That's just how thrilled he was. And if we step back for a moment and we look at it from an overall educational perspective, if you think about iPads in classrooms nowadays, iPads have become a key technology tool in order to enhance the educational training process. It makes it a lot more interactive. They're able to tailor learning towards the students. And that's what excites me, is because WeWalk has a potential to be as impactful as an iPad, where every single visually impaired person will have this, and it will make the cane training so much more efficient. So it's hard not to get excited about that.
Yeah, no, it is very impressive, and it's a kind of a revolution in the orientation and mobility trainings, because it enables, as Joe mentioned, to let them meet with their clients, improve their trainings, and report it for the first time. And I think it's an amazing technology, and thank you very much for your contributions on that. And Jean-Marc, you are currently working as the R&D lead at WeWalk, right?
From time to time.
Good to know.
Good to know.
So during this period, we fortunately received a funding from Innovate UK, so the British Innovation Agency, and we received 1.7 million pound of grants, so which is equivalent of 70 million Turkish liras. And we are collaborating as a part of that project with Imperial College London and Royal National Institute of Blind People, so which is the biggest blind organization in the UK. So could you please walk us through that project and what's its importance?
Oh, absolutely. Now, this is a super exciting project, and it really exemplifies, WeWalk's desire for innovation. We didn't just want to make a smart cane and call it a day. We wanted this to be a hub for innovation for visually impaired people. And through this Design for Aging project, we're actually building the next generation of WeWalk, software and hardware, computer vision-based navigation system from scratch. So we're collaborating with Imperial College, who are providing us with their computer vision algorithms, and the Royal National Institute of Blind People, who are helping us with user testing, to make sure we build the right thing and we address user requirements. And at WeWalk, we talk a lot about our own lived experience of visual impairment, but for this project we assumed nothing. We actually recruited a group of 34 visually impaired people with a range of ages, a range of abilities, and they're a critical friend to us. So we work with them on a daily basis. We get their insights, we understand their challenges, we understand who they are, and we essentially build human-centered design from the very, very beginning. So they've helped us understand a lot, and if you see some of the pictures from the experimentation, you'd think that we're mad scientists. I mean, we had foam earpieces with magnets, and we were weighting different parts of the human head and the ears to understand where we can fit our components to make sure that our users get the most comfortable experience. And it's because of this exercise that we understood new user requirements. We found use cases that we just weren't expecting. For instance, one of the key user insights was that, well, visually impaired people at airports don't just want to go from the special assistance desk to the gate. They would actually like to stop by duty-free. They want to get there at their own pace. And so we invented a system called Danish, or WeAssist. The idea is quite simple. A visually impaired person, through their WeWalk app, can call a professionally trained sighted agent and get help wherever they need it, as opposed to always being chaperoned by someone. And we've actually got some great partners helping us deliver this mission.
Yeah, and we are also in the background, so seeing some examples from the WeAssist service. So as Jean-Marc said, so our first partners are TAV Airports and LC Waikiki. Burada özellikle Türkçe teşekkür etmek istiyorum. Yani havalimanları biraz önce Ağustos'ta paylaştı. Sani abi pek çok aslında projenin öncülüğüne bize yardımcı oldu ve bu projede de Ozan Şener'le çok yakın çalıştık ve TAV Havalimanları'nda bu proje ilk kez hayata geçti. Şimdi LC2'de yaygınlaşıyor. İki kurum da YG'nin çok önemli destekçileri. Bu projeye de öncü oldukları için çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Ve aynı zamanda İngiltere'deki havalimanlarında da bu projeler yakın zamanda hayata geçecek.
Yep. Now, speaking of great partners, I'd actually like to take the opportunity to introduce someone very special, Professor Washington Yotta Ocheng. So he's the head of the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. He is chair professor in positioning and navigation systems. He's a dream partner to WeWalk and the YGA, my PhD supervisor, a great mentor, and of course, a very, very close friend to myself and us all at WeWalk, actually. And I'll let the video speak for itself.
I'm delighted to be here to join you at this global conference. That we can see all around us, whether that is due to the effects of climate change, whether that's earthquakes in Turkey, seismic activity in Iceland. We need to get together now, more than ever, to solve these particular problems. Now, solving these problems, as you will see, because of their complexity, requires a whole of society approach, us working together. And I just wanted to share with you a project that we are undertaking together with WeWalk to develop the world's first fully autonomous navigation and wayfinding system for visually impaired people. This particular product will give visually impaired persons the freedom they need to partake completely just like anybody else into everyday life, whether they're in Europe, whether they're in Africa. Now, this is going to be a milestone already making waves around the world. Why? Because we have gotten together with WeWalk and the visually impaired community to do this. A very, very good example on how we can tangibly solve a world's major problem. So I hear you asking, why has this not been possible till today? We need a philosophy. We need a shift in culture. We need concepts like the double-winged approach. We need galvanizing philosophies like stand by me, where we stand by each other, we care for each other, we partake together. Well, we've started the journey. That's why I'm here talking to you. That's why I've been working with WeWalk and the YGA. I'm inviting you all, if you haven't already done so, to join us. And tomorrow will be a better world. We have demonstrated it can be done, so let's go and do it.
So what Washington shared is genuinely inspiring. We are very fortunate to have his and his faculty support in our journeys. So, Joe, I'm curious about your experience with the YGA culture. Washington emphasized YGA culture. So what does double wing means to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. And coming from a corporate background, the double wing philosophy is not something that I was very familiar with, to be honest. And I'm very impressed by YGA's ability to instill these cultural values in everyone that is part of the YGA team. Gökhan, you had shared a wonderful example with Alexander Graham Bell, who many of you may know that he was famous for pioneering a pretty important technological invention called the telephone. Yeah, it's pretty impactful. But what a lot of you may not know is that Alexander Graham Bell's wife, as well as his mother, were deaf. And this ultimately impacted his decision in order to develop ways in order to help the deaf community and develop technologies in order to help them communicate much better with one another. And with YGA, that's really what they're trying to do. To me, a double-winged person, we always say, is someone that combines both the heart and the mind. It's about having that not only technical know-how, but that other just heart component of it as well. So just the knowing yourself aspect. In terms of knowing yourself as well, it's knowing your strengths, knowing your weaknesses, but also the most important part is just knowing your passions as well. There's a quote, I can't remember how it goes, but something along the lines of, if you allow your passion to drive your purpose, it'll automatically become your profession. So that really resonates with me because, again, it's one of those things where we have to look within ourselves to find out what really it is that motivates us, and ultimately that's what will allow you to make the right choices in life.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Joe. That really resonates. I think Graham Bell's example is a perfect example in terms of that multiplying impact of the technology, but what drives it. So it's the core purpose, right? So I think that's very fundamental. And Marc, what about you?
I'd love to just agree with Joe's answer there, but I guess I'm going to have to come up with my own. Right. So I think there actually is a very, very close relationship between Stand By Me and the double wing concept, especially in terms of competence. And let's make this a bit personal here. You see, at WeWalk, we let our partners stand by us. And as a visually impaired person, I have to let people stand by me to be truly competent. You know, my wonderful family, my beautiful fiance Steph, who's out there, my wonderful teammates, everyone in my life. But there was a time, actually, where I just didn't do that. I didn't accept people standing by me because I wanted to champion my visual impairment. And what I realized was I actually wasn't looking for independence, but rather interdependence. And it's kind of funny because when you think about it, you sometimes have to accept that you're not competent to be truly competent, and that sometimes you need the competency of other people to make yourself more competent. And at WeWalk, we let our partners stand by us. We agree that we just don't have all the answers. And by doing that, ultimately, we can then stand by our visually impaired community.
Yeah, no, that's great. And this also reminds me a quote from Helen Keller. So Helen Keller is a famous deaf-blind person who lived in the past and made a very huge impact on the blindness world, like our Kerim Selim Altınok. So she was a very inspirational figure. And once she famously said, alone we can do so little, but together
we could do so much.
We can do so much. And thank you very much for listening us and for supporting our journey. Kapanışta birkaç sene önce YGA zirvesinde dünyanın dört bir yanından çift kanatlı insanların İstanbul'da buluşmasını ve bu anlamlı projeleri ekiple, hayal ortaklarımızla birlikte büyütmeyi hayal etmiştik. Bugün bunun çok somut bir örneğini yaşıyoruz. Joe ve Marc'a tekrar teşekkür ederim.
Teşekkür.